This fragrance is almost 30 years old, so even though I wouldn't quite call it vintage, classic, maybe, strap up.
Okay, turn it for two. I watch that head move side to side as I let this in into the room. You are on top, let's connect minds. Trying to get into a mood. We gon' be fine. Close up the blinds, no rush. Finish the food.
All right, welcome to the Scent Bubble. I am your host for the afternoon. Hey, I'm on a fragrance journey, and I'm putting a camera to it. And as I'm walking along the way, I'm leaving behind breadcrumbs of information, tools, tips, tricks, and my take on a lot of the things I'm experiencing to hopefully impact your journey in a positive way, whether that's finding a couple fragrances for you to refresh on for the year, or if you're becoming an enthusiast since the fragrance era is upon us, where we have access to everything, and the fragrance community and the fragrance market is absolutely booming. Today from the house of Dior, we have Dune for men. So Dune Pour Homme by Dior for men. I want to do something a little bit different today. I want to ask ChatGPT, can you give me some information about the fragrance Dune Pour Homme for men? Let's just see what it pops up with. So, Dune Pour Homme is a men's fragrance launched in 1997 as a counterpart to the Dune original for women that was released in 91. Olivier Cresp, that's a name that I notice. It's classified as a Woody Floral Musk. Is there any history here? Okay, well, let's just go back out. Let's see if there's a little write-up on it. Okay, Olivier Cresp and Jean-Pierre Bethouart. I'm probably super botching that name. Okay, doesn't seem like there's any cool history information, so we'll just come back out. A 1997 release. It's a men's version follow-up to a early 90s release, Dune for women. And this is one of Dior's, originals, should we say? I don't know when the first Dior fragrance was made, but certainly long ago enough to call it, maybe a founding father fragrance for the house. Let's hit up my wrist here. I think they said Woody Floral Musk, but I don't know what to expect because I don't know what that would have smelled like in terms of tonality and composition in the 90s. I'm an 80s baby, so maybe someone around me was wearing this when I was a kid. I wouldn't have known. I will say this, guys. I've been kind of tiptoeing through my desire to review my vintage haul. At the time of this video, I now have over 100 vintage bottles that I've purchased. And then I have probably over 50 vintage and old, rare, discontinued fragrance samples in my collection. So a lot has happened, and I wanted to kind of save and do a whole vintage segment and all that stuff with you guys. But I realize you don't really care, and you probably don't want to see me take over the channel with vintage content, only. You guys always like the mix and the versatility of things that I do. I can tell that's what you guys have always appreciated, is that I'm always hitting you guys with a bunch of stuff. So even if you don't like it, you can always go back and find a reason to be in the mood for something, and then there's something for you in that realm. So we're just going to start sprinkling vintage, rare, and discontinued fragrance history and information on the channel like salt and pepper, so we can still have the reviews and the game shows and all that amongst you. So anyways, this scent is clean. It's clean, airy, musky, and a bit peppery in the back. I don't know if it's like peppery as much as it is. It's got like this, certain aromatics have this kind of bitter freshness to it where it feels like a soft pepper or like a soft earthy bite. It has this fresh kind of neroli white flower, super injected with musk, clean top to it. Like it's almost a mix between Aqua Allegoria, Neroli Vetiver, but more leaning towards CK1, which is just this very pillowy, powdery, musky, white floral blast of like cleanliness and angelicness. It leans more towards CK1 with a little bit of that kind of Neroli Vetiver nuance of character. This feels like a very light fragrance, like an eau de toilette. That's not a bad thing. A lot in my experience with vintage, there's a lot of eau de toilettes that can pump and give you crazy performance due to the ingredients, but this seems like a skin scent after 2-3 hours kind of feel, unless you're spraying super heavy. This feels like CK1 with a little more refinement and personality, like more of a niche step up from that. I'm interested to see what's in it now and to see what they compare it to. This fragrance got a 4.2 out of 5 on 2,500 votes, so it's a mass appealing fragrance. Whether it was mass appealing back then or not, or if it's super relevant today, I don't know. Wow, look at this. Fig leaf, cassis, sage, and basil. I always tell you guys, basil and rosemary are slowly becoming some of my favorite aromatics. Fig, wood, bark, rose. I don't know how to pronounce that, so I'm not going to try. And then in the base, it just dries down to this sandalwood, cedar, tonka bean, and vanilla. This very kind of basic dry down base that we're familiar with. This does feel very vintage green 78. I will say that. Now, and I think we just did Neroli Vetiver, or Aqua Allegoria Forte Neroli Vetiver. This is very close. I wonder if they compare it to it. Moderate longevity. This perfume reminds me of... Oh, I actually have this Salvatore Dali fragrance in 100 ml. That's one of my vintage fragrances. King of the World by Boadicea the Victorious. Good Life by Davidoff. That's got a lot of bad votes, though. Is it just a phenomenon that it's showing all green fragrances? What else? You got to pay attention to the votes. Oh, I do kind of get a bit of what Salvatore Ferragamo did with their Pour Homme, because it had fig in it. That I agree with. Platinum Egoise? No. Man, Vintage Green 78? Yeah. Okay, they did put it. Why did people downvote that? That's crazy. Okay, well, anyways, guys, I want to make this very... Look at this note pairing, okay? I think, just to show you guys I'm not capping and I'm really the scientist of fragrance here, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, and I haven't looked in years, that Vintage Green 78, if I'm not mistaken, has fig leaf, fig, I think it might have rose in the heart, and then it has a sandalwood, cedar, I think it has a sandalwood tonka bean base. Might have something that says green notes up here. Let's just go check it out. Green leaves, mandarin, bergamot, tea. That's the note I forgot. Tea, fig, magnolia, vetiver, musk, cedar. So, I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. Like, Vintage Green 78 from Banana Republic totally copied this. Like, Carbon copied it. And I actually feel that the only thing they did was ramped up the fig and the bergamot. These two notes, the tea, fig, and bergamot, they just beefed it up and put tea. Kind of almost like an imagination approach to Dune. But man, after seeing this, what I'm curious about is how much is Dune? This is going to be a little bit of an unorthodox review for you guys, but taking you guys through my mind, I err on the side of you guys like how my mind works. So if I get some kind of inkling to look, it's because it's going to bring you guys some value. But what I immediately think in my mind is how much is Dune? Okay. So a 4-ounce Vintage Green 78. So you can get, I think, 200 ml. 2.5? No, that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. You can get Vintage Green 78 in 150 ml for like $25 at any Burlington. Let's just put this in on Google. Why are the prices so bad on this fragrance right now? Why they're like super capping. I got Vintage Green 78 in the 75 ml for like $15 at Ross. Something's up. So yeah, I mean, to me, it seems like, let's see what Max Aroma's doing. 91. So Joma had 84. Yeah, so I mean, I feel like for an EDT, okay, I'm going to consolidate all of this for you guys. This is where I don't want to, we're at 11 minutes. Let me do, I need to consolidate for this for you guys because I don't want to nerd out in an irrelevant way. I want to be useful to your guys' time. So here, first, I'm going to tell you guys, unisex, a little bit masculine leaning, but I do think it's perfectly unisex. Any season, any reason. It leans spring, summer. It might not hold up in cold weather, but you certainly could wear it fall, winter. Probably so spring through fall. It's not a big performer as an eau de toilette. Like, it skin scents pretty fast, but the scent quality on it is absolutely phenomenal. The blend is phenomenal. It's a Vintage Green 78 Banana Republic scent profile with a bit more of a CK1 muskness to it. Like, it's a little bit fresher, which I think is actually good because you guys all know Vintage Green 78, even though it smells really good, it does smell a bit cheap. And so, yeah, any age group, I do think it's unisex more than just men's. I'm interested in smelling the women's one that was made in 91 or whatever now. And then longevity is not going to be that great. I think you'd be lucky to get 4 to 6 hours, and that's like nuking yourself. But let's be real. So as a scent standalone, I think it's 8 out of 10. Well above average, daily driver type of fragrance. It's slightly signature. It's not the most signature, but it does smell above average. You will be an above average smelling individual with a light, airy fragrance that feels very fresh, easy on the nose, a little bit angelic, a little bit powdery, very nice, right? Now, throw all that out of the window. Now, the scent profile, right? I just reviewed a fragrance by Guerlain, Aqua Allegoria Forte Neroli Vetiver, okay? And to me, Dune came out first, and then you have Vintage Green 78 from Banana Republic, and then you have Aqua Allegoria, the Neroli Vetiver, which came out in 2023. I think all three of those fragrances are the exact same, even though they're slightly nuanced. So what I'm going to tell you is Dior's tripping. Dior's should not be charging that much for Dune. They're trying to still make 2025 money off of a hood classic. If you were getting massive performance out of it, you were into vintage, I would say, yeah, buy it because it smells great. It'll be a daily driver for you, whatever. But due to the performance and the price, even though it's an 8 out of 10 fragrance, I say scrap that because to me, there's a 10 out of 10 fragrance out there, and that's the Guerlain. So you can't really argue the price of Vintage Green 78. Like, if you're extra read all about it broke, then if you want to smell like Dune, get Vintage Green 78. I don't think Dune is relevant today just off performance and price. Dior is really trying to squeeze the penny there. You can get the exact same profile of Dune with Vintage Green 78 with a slight emphasis on the bergamot, fig, and tea note, but it's essentially the same fragrance on dry down. Now, if you want a fragrance in those scent profiles that gives you monstrous longevity, at least 6 to 8 hours minimum, has way more projection, a way bigger scent bubble, and the best price comparatively per ml, it's going to be Aqua. And let's take you guys back to screen here just so I can show you this. Aqua Allegoria Neroli. So they have two versions of this. They have the EDT version, but I recommend the EDP just so you can get that performance. Look at this price right here. $61 for 125 ml. Fragrance smells just like Dune. A little bit more personality, way more longevity and projection. And look at that price, 125 ml. You guys will wear this every single day. It's more truly unisex, a little more sophisticated, better push. So this is my recommendation. I think you should not get Dune, even though it's an 8 out of 10 fragrance, for the price reason, for the juice and composition, the push, the longevity. Everything makes sense that if you're into Dune's profile and you're into Vintage Green 78's profile, you should just save up the money and get this fragrance, because once you get into this territory, now you have a fragrance that, quite frankly, is a 10 out of 10 to me. And the scent profile is absolutely amazing. You could wear it every single day. Now, if we look at Aqua Allegoria Neroli, just so you guys know I'm not capping. If we look at the note difference, look, fig leaf, bergamot, fig, neroli, rose, vetiver, cedar. It mocks the Vintage Green 78 and Dior's Dune for Men to a T. So it is, I'm not capping. Sometimes when people give you guys alternatives and stuff like that, a fragrance will be slightly different. No. You smell this, it'll remind you exactly of Vintage Green 78 or Dior's Pour Homme Dune, or Dune Pour Homme. But it's a much better fragrance with louder projection and performance. Incredible price, 125 ml of juice. And it was a recent release in 2023. So it revived all these old concepts. Again, if you're broke, get Vintage Green 78 as a Dune alternative. But to save an extra 20, 30 bucks to get a 10 out of 10 fragrance, which I think Vintage Green 78 is an 8, just like Dune is, I think you should just save your money, because if you upgrade to Allegoria, now you have a fragrance that is truly a 10 out of 10. Smells just like the other ones, way smoother, way cleaner, way more sophistication and balance and character, longevity, price. And that will be something you'll wear every day, and it can compete with any niche fragrance in its category to me. So that's my OG recommendation, is to go Allegoria. But if you're broke, and only if you're broke, get Vintage Green 78. Good fragrance, 8 out of 10. Dune was cool. You know, back then it would have been a classic. It would have been an amazing daily driver fragrance for men. But today there's just factors like you guys are still charging an arm and a leg. You probably are even charging more today than you did back in 97 or whatever. Fragrance doesn't last long. You know, there's just too many factors that deteriorate it leaves it in the it was good for its day category. But today there is a new sheriff in town, and it is Guerlain. So definitely get into that. Let me know if you guys have tried Dune. We're going to have a ton more vintage, rare, discontinued fragrances coming on the channel. And that was my hot take on Dune Pour Homme. Cool experience. Sound off in the comments. I do talk back. Like, comment, and subscribe. More importantly, turn on that notification bell. I drop episodes in abundance every single day. And I'm just appreciative that you guys are here. On the sides of the screen right now, I'm going to recommend some videos that if you liked this one, you'll definitely want to check out. We do reviews, game shows, interviews, collaborations, live Q&As, everything. So if you're into fragrance, this is where you want to be, and I would love to earn your subscription. It's free. Be blessed, guys. Until next time, peace.